Hi, Shalom, and welcome to part 2 of this full Moshéh message. If you see my page going up and down like this, don't worry too much about it. I will move it to places we need to go, but if I don't keep my page moving up and down, my phone decides to go asleep on me, and hence why we're doing part 2, because part 1 was just abruptly cancelled, finished on me because my phone decided to go to sleep. So anyway, where I was getting at was... Yep, righto, so what I was up to is I was obviously explaining about these first 3 verses. I explained about the complaining of the people, why they complain, looked at different verses from that, from the last part. So now I want to look at the fire, like the fire that, speaking of here, is like the fire of, in the days of Job, 1:16. I'll read that verse to you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, the fire of Elohim fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to inform you. The fire that they was talking about was, if you look at the account of Job there, was talking about a fire of like lightning. That was the same fire that was spoken of here, not the fire like in I guess not like the fire that was with Eliyahu, where they are testing the Baals, and the fire comes down and consumes obviously the offering, licks up the water, etc. Where that was more of a physical fire, but the fire it's talking about in these verses here is more like a lightning fire. That's why, I guess that's probably why it only consumed like part of the camp, or just sort of hit part of the camp, and I guess it was probably meant more of a sign than to really wipe out the whole camp. But yeah, straight away Moshéh prayed and asked the Father to stop this fire. So yeah, that's the fire that's talking about there. It's obviously a couple of people got hurt from the fire, but the fire was pretty much abruptly stopped, and because of that, a lot of people obviously didn't get hurt. So yeah, so that was that fire. It was more like a lightning bolt, I guess. It's hard to say what sort of fire it was. Like, I was reading from an account of from what's called the pulpit commentary, and I guess so. I'll just go keep this moving every now and again so we don't go to sleep. And I guess we'll read from here. Yeah, sort of shows an account. So, and when the people complained, it displeased Yahweh. There is no when in the original. It is literally, and the people were as complainers. Evil in the ears of Yahweh. This may be paraphrased as in AV. I'm not sure what AV is referring to. It may be rendered as in Septuagint. In the Septuagint, if you read obviously from full Moshéh 11, you'll see the Septuagint letters, and those letters actually sort of seem to have a cross-reference of 1 Corinthians 10:10. Never grumble, as some of them also grumbled and were destroyed by the destroyer. And also, like, so continuing on from there, there's also another word in there. I don't understand this. I think it's the Greek in it, the Septuagint, and I don't understand these letterings. But it means the wicked things they uttered in their discontent, or the evil, may mean the hardships they complained of. The Targums understand it in the same way as the Septuagint, as this seems to agree best with its context. As to the time and place of this complaining, the narrative seems to limit it with the 3 days march from the wilderness of Sinai, but it was not possible to fix it more precisely. It is sufficient that the very first incident in the great journey thought worthy of record was this sin and its punishment, and the natural conclusion is that it came to pass very shortly after the departure. As to the reason of the complaining, although it is not stated, and although there does not seem to have been any special cause of distress, we can hardly be mistaken about the fatigue and anxiety of the march, After a year's comparative idleness, the frightful nature of the country into which they were marching, and the unknown terrors of the way which lay before them, these were quite enough to shake their nerves and upset their minds. So these are people not very much faith. They obviously got shaken minds, upset minds, shaken nerves. So yeah, such things could only be borne and faced in the spirit of faith and trusted dependence upon Yahweh and their appointed leaders, and the spirit that they knew nothing of at the time. So they didn't really, as I was saying, they're not very faithful. Being from slavery, even when it was outward pressure and past and gone like a bad dream, leaves behind its above all things an incurable suspicion of and a rooted disbelief in others, which shows itself outward by blank ingratitude and persistent complaint of bad treatment. This is well known mental attitude of liberated slaves, even towards their benefactors and liberators. And in the case of Israel, this temper extended to the king of Israel himself, whom they held responsible for all the privations and terrors of an apparent needless journey through a hideous waste. The Targum of Palestine says here, there were wicked men of the people who, being discontent, devised and imagined evil before Yahweh. The complaining, however, seems to have been general throughout the host, as the psalmist more truly acknowledges. So in Song 78, 17-22, we read, "Yet they sinned still more against him to rebel against the Most High in the desert. And they tried the power in their heart by asking food according to their desires. And they spoke against the mighty ones. They said, Is the power able to set a table in the wilderness? Look, he struck the rock, so that the waters gushed out and the streams overflowed. Is he able to give bread also? Would he provide meat for his people? Therefore Yahweh heard, and he was wrath. So a fire was kindled against Yaakov, and displeasure also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in the Elohim or the mighty ones, neither did they trust in his deliverance." So yeah, obviously in the Song 78, 17-22, it really touches on that a bit more. So here we go. This is what I was talking about after lightning. Here's another account of the lightning in 1 Samuel 12:8. "And Samuel called to Yahweh, and Yahweh sent thunder and rain that day, and all the people greatly feared Yahweh and Shemuel." Also in Samuel, that was 12:18 and 12:19. "And all the people said to Shemuel, Pray for your servant to Yahweh, your mighty ones, that we do not die, for we have added to all our sins this evil of asking for ourselves a sovereign." So yeah, that was sort of the lightning that I was speaking about there. Obviously David Gizik goes on to talk about a miraculous outburst of flame from the presence in the tabernacle, such as Nabab and Abihu, seen in Job 10:2. So I say to Aloha, do not declare me wrong, show me why you strive with me. And afterwards the 250 men who offered incense. So here's about the incense one. And Eob answered and said, I have heard many matters like these. All of you are comforters of trouble. Is there an end to the words of wind, or the provokes that you answer? I might also speak like you. If you were in my place, I might heap up words against you and shake my head at you. I might strengthen you with my mouth, and my moving lips might bring relief. If I speak, my pain is not relieved, and if I refrain, does it leave me? But now he has wearied me. You have stunned all my company, and you have plucked me, and it is a witness. And my failures rise up against me, it bears witness to my face. He has torn in his wrath, and he hates me. He has gnashed at me with his teeth. His adversary sharpens his eyes upon me. They open wide their mouths at me. In scorn they have stricken my cheeks. They mass themselves together against me. The power has handed me over to the perverse and cast me into the hands of the wrong. I will at ease, but he broke me, and he took me by my neck and shattered me, and he has set me up for his target. His archers surround me. He splits my kidneys in two and does not spare. He pours out my bile on the ground. He made a breach in me, breach upon breach. He runs upon me like a mighty man. I sewed sackcloth over my skin and laid my horn in the dust. My face is reddened from weeping, and on my eyelids is a shadow of death. For no violence was on my hand, and my prayer sincere. O earth, do not cover my blood, and let my cry have no resting place. See, even now my witness is in the heavens, and my defender is on high. My friends are they that scorn me. My eyes pour out tears to a lover. Oh, that one might plead for a man with a lover as a man with his neighbour. When a few years are past, then I shall go the way of no return. So that was from Job 1 to 22. So that's what I was talking about before with the fire. Was 2 Kings 1, 10 to 12. And Eliyahu answered and said to the captains of 50, And I am a man of Elohim. Let fire come down from the heavens and consume you and your 50 men. And fire came down from the heavens and consumed him and his 50. He then sent another captain of 50 with his 50 men. And he answered and said to them, Men of Elohim, this is what the sovereign said, Come down at once. And Eliyahu answered and said to them, If I am a man of Elohim, Almighty Ones, let fire come down from the heavens and consume you and your 50 men. And the fire of Elohim came down from the heavens and consumed him and his 50. So this was the same fire that licked up the water. But yeah, this was not the fire as I was speaking of earlier. The fire speaking of in this one is obviously the fire of like lightning. So anyway, yeah, so that was that. So anyway, I think now that we've touched on those, we might move on to from verse 4 on to 15. And the mixed multitude were in their midst, lusted greatly, so the children of Israel also wept again and again, Who is giving us meat to eat? We remember the fish which ate without cost in Mitzrayim, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our being is dried up, there is naught to look at but this manna. Now the manna was like coriander seed, it appeared like the appearance of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it, ground it on millstones, or beat it in the mortar, and cooked it in a pot, and made cakes of it, and its taste was as the taste of cakes baked with oil. And when the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna fell on it. And Moshe heard the people weeping throughout their clans, each man at the door of his tent, and the displeasure of Yahweh exceedingly, and in the eyes of Moshe was evil. So Moshe said to Yahweh, Why have you done evil to your servant? And why have I not found favour in your eyes to put the burden of all these people on me? Was it I who conceived all these people? Was it I who brought them forth? That you should say to me, Carry them in your bosom, as the foster father carries a nursing child to the land which you swore to their fathers. Where am I to get meat to give to all these people? For they weep before me, saying, Give us meat to eat. I'm unable to bear all these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. And if you are doing this to me, kill me, please. Kill me. For I have found favour in your eyes, and let not see your evil. So, going from verse 16 to 30 now. Obviously, the fathers heard Moshe, because the father used to talk face to face with Moshe. And where, like with a prophet, he'd more send visions or dreams. But with Moshe, he was sort of like, he was a very chosen man. He was sort of highly by Yahweh. So they used to talk face to face. So the elders appointed to aid Moshe, 16:30. Then Yahweh said to Moshe, Gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of the appointment, and let them stand there with you. And I shall come down and speak with you there, and shall take of the Spirit that is on you, and put on them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you do not bear it yourself alone. And say to the people, Set yourselves apart for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat, because you have wept in the hearing of Yahweh, saying, Who is giving us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Mitzrayim, and Yahweh shall give you meat, and you shall eat. You are going to eat, not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but for a new moon, which a new moon also has the meaning of like 30 days, or a month. So a month, obviously, can be more than 30 days, but obviously it means a month. of days until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes an abomination to you, because you have rejected Yahweh, who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we come up out of Mitzrayim? And Moshe said, The people in whose midst I am are 600,000 men on foot, and you have said, I give them meat to eat for a new moon of days. So for a month of days. Could flocks and herds be slain for them to be sufficient for them? Or could all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to be sufficient for them? And Yahweh said to Moshe, Is the arm of Yahweh too short? Now see whether my word meets you or not. And Moshe went out and spoke to the people the words of Yahweh, and he gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tent. And Yahweh came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took of the spirit that was upon him, and placed the same upon the 70 elders. And it came to be, when the spirit rested upon them, that they prophesied, but did not continue. However, 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad, and the name of the other was Medad. And the spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those listed, but did not go out to the tent, and they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and informed Moshe and said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. And Yahushua the son of Nun, Moshe's assistant from his youth, answered and said, Moshe, my master, forbid them. Then Moshe said to them, Are you jealous for my sake? Or that all the people of Yahweh's prophets, that Yahweh should put his spirit upon them? And Moshe returned to the camp with both he and the elders of Israel. Now where this meat comes from. So from verse 31 to 35, quail and a plague. And a wind went forth from Yahweh, and it brought quail for the sea, and let them fall beside the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and about a day's journey on the other side, all round the camp, and about 2 cubits above the surface of the ground. And when the people were up all that day, and all that night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail, he who had least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. And the meat was still between their teeth before it was chewed, and the wrath of Yahweh against the people, and Yahweh the people with an exceeding great plague. Then he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaawah, because there were buried the people who had lusted, as seen earlier up there. From Kibroth Hattaawah, the people set out for Hatzeroth, and they were at Hatzeroth. So yeah, you see there that that this meat was given to the people, and yet you've seen when we read further on in 20 and what was it, 20 and when we read on from Numbers 20 to 2 to 5, where they were still complaining about this bread. So obviously this must be after the time of this month where they ate this meat. They went back to the manna, and yeah, you see they're still complaining about food and water and being loaves of this light bread. So obviously they got sick of the meat, I guess, like Yahweh had sort of said. I'm just going off of what Scripture's saying here and where Scripture's at, so yeah, it's no use me giving you my understanding. I can give you, I guess, what the Ruach HaKodesh reveals to me, and these are the things that I seem to be hearing. So now I'd like to continue on in 4 Moshe 12, 1 to 6, because there's sort of not much explanation I can really do on about the meat and about obviously the people being fed the meat for a month or a new moon. So 4 Moshe 12, 1 to 16. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe, saying of the Cushite woman who he had taken, for he had taken a Cushite woman. And they said, Has Yahweh spoken only through Moshe? Has he not also spoken through us? And Yahweh heard it. And the man Moshe was very humble, more than all the men who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, You three come out to the tent of appointment. So the three came out, and Yahweh down in the column of the cloud and stood in the door of the tent, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And he said, Hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yahweh, I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moshe, he is trustworthy in all my house. I speak with him mouth to mouth and plainly and not in riddles. And he sees the form of Yahweh, so why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? Brilliant thing that I learnt yesterday is later on, Yahushua obviously comes, because this is obviously earlier on in the books, but we come up to the new covenant where we're now called friends, not servants, I guess, but yeah. So anyway, it was a nice little tidbit. Verse 9, and the displeasure of Yahweh against them, and he left. And the cloud turned away from above the tent, and look, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow, and Aaron turned toward Miriam, and look, a leper. And Aaron said to Moshe, O my master, please do not hold against us the sin in which we have done foolishly, in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead when coming out of her mother's womb, with his flesh half consumed. And Moshe cried out to Yahweh, saying, O El, or the power, please heal her, please. And Yahweh said to Moshe, if your father had but spit in her face, would she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and after that let her be remitted. And Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out until Miriam was remitted. And afterwards the people departed from Hatzeroth, and they camped in the wilderness of Paran. So I hope you enjoyed this little Shabbat meeting. It's not a real long Shabbat meeting. I like to give, obviously, little talks, not too long, ones that you can sort of fathom, search, and obviously, then come by tomorrow and check out tomorrow's message. So may you be blessed. I hope you have shalom. Hope you're enjoying your Shabbat shalom, and be blessed. And until next time, which will be tomorrow for another message, be blessed.